Ben, King Ben.
Con, you clear.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. So continue to ping your list. And in the meantime, if you haven't become a member to Thy Kingdom, come click on the green house. Be sure to follow the moderators. And be sure to follow our sister clubs, Crown of Thorns, God First Gang, One Third, Versus, and some of the other rooms that we are open up daily. And, get some good edification. So with that, just get a couple more minutes. We could probably start in about 3 minutes, and then we can go ahead and get started. The water.
Hey, shalom, shalom.
Hey, Shalom, King. Shalom. Just continue to ping. I'm going to get started here in a few more minutes. King Ben, you ready to record? Are we all set?
Better carry these laws, statutes, and commandments. What you gonna do in time of trouble? Better carry these laws, statutes, and commandments. What you gonna do in time of trouble? Judgment's yeah. What you gonna do? Yeah. Judgment's yeah. In time of trouble, yeah. What you gonna do? Yeah. What now? What you gonna do? In time of trouble, trouble is yeah. You better not, yeah. Trouble is yeah. In time of trouble.
Shalom, family. First, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai. Shout out to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Greetings and blessings. Hope everyone is having a good evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to tonight's episode of Jacob's Trouble. This is episode 16. Over the past 15 episodes, we have covered a gambit of different topics concerning Jacob's Trouble. What is it? How to prepare for it in the spirit and in the natural. Some of the things to expect during Jacob's Trouble: the famine, pestilence, hyperinflation, power outages, things of that nature. We also discussed various ways to prepare: food storage, water filtration, water storage, power, energy, fuel, skills to learn, first aid, CPR, things of that nature. Gardening, we did an intro lesson to gardening, food rotation and storage. And then we transitioned to analyzing Jacob's Trouble, which is where we take relevant movies and TV shows and took out relevant lessons in regard to Jacob's Trouble and how to apply them. But tonight we are back on the regular Jacob's Trouble series. So welcome to tonight of episode 16 of Jacob's Trouble. In tonight's episode, we will be covering the upcoming financial collapse, supply shortages, and how cash, stocks, gold, and cryptos will be crap once crap hits the fan. We will cover what to expect in those coming days and how what it will look like and how you can stay ahead of the crowd that will be rushing for the door. So with that, I want to start with tonight's what an opening scripture. This is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 4. Riches are worthless in the day of wrath, but righteousness brings deliverance from death. And we know righteousness is keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High and having faith in the Messiah. We went over that last week in episode 15. Now, the first situation, with that, we're going to get right into it. So, First, the situation that happened yesterday with the internet outages is a taste of what's to come. As reported yesterday by some Twitter accounts and today in our mid-morning Brew Blend newscast, there are a lot of excuses, reasons, theories as to what happened. And in the short term, those make for some good discussions. And at the time, it was a good wake-up call for us, which had us answering the question I usually ask in Jacob's Trouble lessons is, if the grocery stores were to close right now, as I'm talking, if the banks and all these stock trading apps and crypto apps were to shut down right now as I'm talking, how many days worth of food, water, sundries, and supplies do you have in your possession right now? Now, that is a question that almost got answered yesterday, because most Americans, whether you're rich or poor, have an average of about 3 to 5 days worth of food in their pantry right now. That's just standard on average. So, with that being said, what will the collapse of all collapses actually look like? And we're talking financial. Using recent history as a guide, we are given some key insights from this, and we can see, and from that, we can learn how to better place ourselves. And when I'm talking recent history, talking about Great Depression, you know, how our grandparents were saying, "Oh, I don't trust the banks. I'm putting my money under the mattress," which is smart. Um, we saw in recent years Greece. They had the bank holidays, and I'll get into that exactly what that is. We see Venezuela with the currency crisis, where they're hyperinflation and they got to print new currencies every, week to try to stay ahead. That was at the start. It's gotten a little bit better now, and little is not saying much, considering you're talking about an entire country. But so with that, that's what I mean by saying recent history. Just in Zimbabwe is another example of hyperinflation, currency going to crap. Now, one thing to know about all those other countries I've mentioned is none of those countries had $29 trillion in debt. None of them. None of them printed $1 trillion a day to keep the banks open. That's what we do. It's called reverse repo. We covered that a few times in our mid-morning brew blend. I kind of went over it in detail a few times, but that's essentially what the banks are doing per day. They've been started at 100 billion in 2019, and now we're all the way up to 1.6 trillion dollars as a few days as of yesterday. Those countries did not have that problem. So when I'll still say we because I was born there, experience this collapse, it will be the collapse of all collapses. It will be exponentially worse than what Greece, Venezuela, Weimar Germany, the Great Depression, all of those combined. It will, blow those out of proportion by a mile. Now, with that being said, the first thing to know is when the banks falter. And when I say the banks, talking about the currency, supply shortages, all that. When it falters, you will get no notice. We will probably all know at the same time, social media feeds, news reports, things like that. And when I say we, I'm talking Main Street. The wealthy, they will know ahead of time. And I kind of using more recent history as an example, in 2008, we had the financial crisis. Now, I remember that day. I was just about to graduate, and the job market was crap shortly after. But I remember I remember the night it started. I was at my sister's house, and we were just watching TV and just hanging out. And then the news came on. It was like, "Oh, currency crisis. Lehman Brothers is crashing. Blah blah blah." All hell's breaking loose. And that's when the politicians had to go back into Washington. Like, they fly home on the weekend, some of them, and they come back on Monday. Some of them have houses in Virginia and Maryland and DC area, but they all had to come back that night to solve this problem. And Lehman Brothers is like 100. It was over 100-year-old company. So how the hell this company this big, this old, this all of a sudden we're just now hearing about this? No, there was a problem going on in Lehman Brothers that they kept secret as much as possible until it actually collapsed and declared bankruptcy. The stock was falling. That was not reported not once during the news. There was not weeks of reports and blogs and all this other stuff. There was none of that going on. And social media wasn't around then. So, um, when it comes to something that big, you're not going to get noticed. I know we talked about today in the newscast about the Evergrande company in China. They've been talking about this for days. It could be a big thing, but the fact that they're talking about it so openly lets us know it's not that big of a deal. In grand scheme of things, and talking about uh, overall Jacob's Trouble collapse, it's small potatoes. Just because they're talking about this much, if it's mainstream news, they're not going to really Lehman Brothers. You did not know until it was actually finished. So that's what I mean. We're not going to have any warning. So first things first, you're not going to have any warning. Second thing, when this happens, the banks will limit withdrawals. We will have long lines at the ATM. Your bank will drastically limit the amount you're able to transact buying, whether you're buying or sending money with Zelle or Cash App or whatever. They will limit that. With that, you will see panic buying from the likes you have never seen. Someone who has $1,000 in their account in the bank, someone who has $1,000 in their account, but their bank has placed a limit of $100. When they go to try to make a purchase of $100 of $120 worth of food, their card will get declined, and so they will have to put some back to get under that daily limit. This situation mixed with the ongoing supply shortages will create volatile situations among those who still have money in their accounts. We're not even getting to those who have been laid off, lost their benefits, stopped working. We're not even talking about those. About those who have money in their accounts. Now, with that being said, I'm sure the millionaires will still have access to their funds, but they will not be able to withdraw large sums of cash. There's no leverage a celebrity can have on a banking institution to force them to make a withdrawal of, let's say, $10,000 from their bank account in cash. Um, it just won't happen. So when I gave the example of maybe they will place $100 limit for a high net worth individual, your celebrities, star athletes, they'll probably raise that to 10,000s or something like that. Maybe that's a big maybe. Which is why some of them are getting dual citizenship to other countries. They have multiple accounts offshores, which again, when this is Jacob's Trouble, it's not going to save them at all. Um, so what I just described as the ATM, as the long lines of the ATM, restrictions on your account, um, that is what you call capital controls. Okay, so when you hear that term, capital controls, you will have that going on. So that's the term that's being used, capital controls. Now, the banks will reduce hours of operation in the lobby. The 1-800 customer service line you will have an unlimited wait time. They will be closed on some days, which this whole term I described is called a bank holiday. So that's what happened in Greece and, to an extent, Turkey and Lebanon when they were having bank issues. They, reduced their hours of operation, reduced, they placed capital controls and had, there were long lines at the ATM, people waiting in long lines at the bank. This happened in India when they were changing their currency in a couple of years when they got, tried in an attempt to get rid of the counterfeit. They've gone, they've gone heavily digital. So with that, you've seen, that's what you call like a bank holiday. Like, oh, they have bank holidays in Greece. It's not a good thing if you have your money in the bank and you're trying to get it out. Okay. So third thing to expect is with respect to crypto exchanges, you can expect something similar. You may be able to sell your cryptos, but you will not be able to send it to your banking accounts. The crypto exchanges they run like banks. They want every penny that's still there. And even if you could send it to your banking account, you're going to run into the same problem I just described about the banks. The exact same problem. Okay. Now, when we people want to know about price action, is it going to collapse? Is it going to rise? And it's the reason why some people will think it will rise is because of hyperinflation. So yeah, depending, it may happen. I mean, right now cryptos are heavily denominated in dollars, so if there's a currency crisis, some of these exchanges will. I mean, if you're in another country and you have um, crypto, they will change it to the local currency. Just kind of like the foreign exchange rate. But you're going to run into the same problems that we just described. You're trying to get your money out, or you're trying to transact with it. Now, this scenario. Now, in this scenario I just gave, the internet is probably still going to be up. People will still be able to communicate with each other, just like in Greece and Zimbabwe, and more recently Venezuela. But in these countries, with that being said, we may experience rolling blackouts. This is where electricity and water will be on and off in certain hours of the day, or certain days at a time. Now, rolling blackouts, this is nothing new for second and third world countries. Okay. Americans.
Leo, are you there? For some reason, I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, no,
Brandon?
now I hear you. Now I hear you.
Okay, what was the last thing I said?
Rolling blackouts was the last thing I heard.
Okay, cool. With rolling blackouts, this is where electricity and water will be on and off in certain hours of the day. This is nothing new for second and third world countries. It's kind of normal, but for Americans, it will be a new reality. Um, you know, Everyone's trying to get paid. Everyone has heavy debt loads. You're talking about your energy companies. Everyone is heavily indebted, and everyone wants to get paid. Now, how that will work, who knows? But this is part of the reason for rolling blackouts. Um, now, America will experience with the rest of the countries that have been trodden down by the U.S. foreign policy will experience restricted supplies, the amount of supplies and food you can purchase, capital controls, long lines at the ATM, etc. Now, in the case of hyperinflation, we discussed that in I think the second or third lesson on Jacob's Trouble. Kind of went into hyperinflation. That's the black horse in Revelations that has the scales on the balance. In the case of hyperinflation, your silver and gold will rise in price. It will, but again, you run into the same problem as I described earlier. Some countries are starting to make adjustments. Very few. I can't name them. I only heard that in passing that some countries are starting to are working towards a way for you to purchase with silver and gold. I'm sure it's still going to be connected to a digital debit card or something like that. They have that out now. You buy some gold, and you have your debit and ATM card, and then you're able to transact, and they take that amount from the value of gold you have in your account with that company. So I'm sure that's how it's going to happen. But in any case, if you have silver and gold, you're going to run into the same problems, especially in the U.S. Because how the hell you're going to take an ounce of silver and take it to Walmart and say, well, the ounce of gold is $1,000 right now. Give me $1,000 worth of food. Not going to work. So some countries are cracking down on citizens owning gold. I kind of went into that earlier on the mid-morning brew blend, how the U.S. tried to do that in the 1930s and 40s. But more recently, India is a good example. Philippines, Brazil isn't as strict, but they highly discourage it by creating fake stories in the news about people getting caught at customs with a gold purse and stupid stuff like that. It just I just ignored. But in any case, if you have silver and gold, where it doesn't matter if you are an individual, if you're China or Russia who is hoarding hundreds of tons of gold and are purchasing hundreds of tons of gold per month, everyone's going to eventually have the same problem. This is Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 19. They will throw their silver into the streets, and their gold will seem unclean. Their silver and gold cannot save them in the day of the wrath of the Lord. They cannot satisfy their appetites nor fill their stomachs with wealth, for it became a stumbling block that brought their iniquity. So, you can have all the gold in the world, but if you can't eat it, it is not going to do you any good in this time. Okay. Another precept to that is Zephaniah 1 and 18. Neither their silver nor their gold will be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. But the whole land shall be devoured by fire of his jealousy. For he shall make a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. So none of your holdings will matter. Your cash, your stocks, your 401k, bonds, cryptos, none of it will matter. Now, the crazy thing is I've heard some people interpret those two verses to mean that we should own Bitcoin. Like those two scriptures is the reason why we should own Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is better than gold. And only thing I can say to that is good heavens. Like that's the conclusion you came to when you read those two verses is Bitcoin. I didn't have any response. Now, with that being said, there was a sister on Twitter a couple of days ago. She tweeted this tweet. It said, "What are you going to do with your cryptos when the power goes out?" And then the comments, I just continue to say, "Good heavens!" Everyone, some people were saying, "Well, that's why you have cold storage. That's why you put them on a it's kind of like a USB drive. That's like a wallet. That's why you have cold storage." Or I'll be able to, I have mine saved on my hard drive. Clearly missing the point of what she was saying, and she clarified the next tweet saying, "No, I meant like permanently, like the power's gone." And people didn't get it. They didn't understand. Clearly they didn't, because they kept saying, well, still, I'll have it on my hard drive, or, I'll have it on my crypto wallet, which again, when the power goes out, it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. When the supplies run out, it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. So with that being said, with, that little scare we had yesterday with the internet going out and Bank of America reporting outages and Merrill Lynch reporting problems, it was definitely a good exercise to think like, are you really ready? Um, you know, so my take on things like this, I don't tell people what to do with their money. They can do whatever they want. But I guess I do advise to, be wise with your resources, the resources that, the Most High has blessed you with, be wise with it. But in terms of like investments and things like that, my thing is, if you don't hold it, if you don't physically hold it, you don't own it. Okay. You know, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I have some investments. I have some crypto, but again, the thing you want to have, I do have this mindset. Let me go ahead and bring this out. I forgot to bring out this, put his precept in my notes. One second. This precept right here, this is, 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 40. O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be as pilgrims upon the earth. He that sails, let him be as one that flees away. That means you're just, if you got a business, you're selling stuff because, you might not be able to enjoy it. He that buys, as one that will lose. So my heart or my mindset with those investments are that one right there. Verse 41. He that buys, as one that will lose. If you're buying with the mindset that I might lose this, you have no attachments to it. When it's game on, it's game on. You can't like, oh man, I should have sold that. Blah blah blah. It's over. Move on. This time to the battle's on at that point. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell anyone, you know, what to do or how to manage their investments. I mean, you know, you got to do your own research on that. But that, for me personally, that's the mindset I have. If I don't physically hold it, I don't own it. So, you know, when these capital controls and these bank holidays kick in, oh, that's my money. No, it's not. It's if it's not in your hand, it's not yours. Um, you may think it is, um, but it may have your name on the account, but it's not yours. If you don't physically hold it, you don't own it. So, you know, with that being said, let's kind of go into some solutions. Um, let's start with what to do. Okay. So I kind of went over the problems of what to expect. So let's kind of go in what to do. So, you know, if you're writing this down, remember the four B's. Four B's. B as in boys. There's four of them. Number one is Bible. You got to have faith, keep the law, statutes, and commandments, faith in Christ, the Messiah, and secured and be secured, comfortable, confident in what the Lord says. We did countless lessons on that. So, you know, you got to have the first and most important B is Bible. Okay. Um, second B, that's your second B is beans. Beans. That's your food. If you haven't started gathering, you are far behind. Utilize the food banks if you're on a budget. Team up with a sister or brother and go half on a Sam's Club card or Costco's. Um, so you know, start that now. If you already have, don't get discouraged. I saw some people get discouraged because they had um, a pretty decent stock of food, and you know, they were saying, you know, they had to kind of throw. I really don't remember. I don't want to lie. You know, don't give me a line or being inaccurate. But her exact quote was, um, you know, I kind of feel bad. Well, I'm paraphrasing. I kind of feel bad for storing all this food because I thought the famine will be here by now. So, leading to believe, you know, I didn't engage with the sister, but leaving me to believe that she, you know, had some food that she had to throw out because, you know, she wasn't practicing food rotation, which, you know, it happens. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, people who store food. This is not the first time that they've, you know, had this problem. So, but I remember thinking, well, it's better to be early than late. So, you know, the fact that you know, you're not throwing out 100% of your storage, you're probably going through and throwing out some stuff that's been well beyond the expiration, and replenishing that. But it's better to be early than late. So, with that the beans, um, you know, practice food rotation. Don't get discouraged. I mean, you can see the stores are, you know, looking bare, looking more and more bare. So the thing I said about famine is not like you just wake up and the food is gone. I mean, we know that scripture says suddenly the, the storehouses will be empty, and like that suddenly speaks to like, wait a minute, what happened? Where's all this food? Like, what? There's no more trucks coming in. It'll be like as a shock. You know, it's not like the food just vanishes into thin air. It will be like a shock. So you see, farmers are getting paid not to cultivate. Some are getting paid to destroy their crops. You see the shipping, that the food plants keep having problems. You see all of the shipping containers on the coast of the east and west of the United States can't dock. Some of that is food because we import a lot of food too. You see Bill Gates buying up a bunch of land. He's the largest landowner. He's not doing that to grow food. He's doing that just to let the crops die and let the land be untilled. So those are the, you know, signs that, you know, people who have the watchmen, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, see it coming. So it's, you know, you see years in the making. You see the droughts in you know, the Southwest. You see the fires in California. You see flooding in different areas. So all of that affects the food. Everything I just named affects the food situation, which is all part of the famine. Okay. So swine flu is popping up in some areas. So you got to kill off the pig herd, which for us, it doesn't matter because we don't eat that anyway. But, you know, with that being said, you know, get on your beans. Okay, you got the Bible, you got the beans, and when the um, when the famine takes its final form, like there's nothing, like that's it, it's gone, it's it. Whether the banking institution is still up or not, um, I can assure you that the food will run out before the bullets do. You can ask any war torn third world country about that. They got guns and bullets, but nothing to eat. And so that brings me to the next B, which is bullets. Okay. Bullets will be your personal protection. However, you define that and whatever you are comfortable with, get it and practice it. Okay. So we covered personal protection plenty of times in these lessons, but we know ammo is in scarce supplies. The prices are going up, and hyperinflation and famine are like cousins. They're closely related, or they could be siblings, because as the famine gets tougher and tougher, the prices go higher and higher. Okay, so because it's just a natural equilibrium of famine, higher prices. So supply and demand. Okay, low supply, high demand, prices go up. So you see that in ammo because the brass casings for the shells. Um, China makes that. So why did the U.S. export the manufacturing of ammunition to China? Who the hell knows? But that's just again, Edom being Edom. Now we have gunpowder. We have 4 gunpowder depots. We got plenty of gunpowder, but the casings to put the gunpowder in to make the bullets comes from China. Um, Not so much for shotgun shells because that's plastic. The U.S. has plenty of plastic, so you should be able to find those. But still, people are stocking up. People are hoarding whatever they can find. So you're going to have problems with those too. But if you don't like guns, you want to go to the Old Testament way of doing things, bow and arrow, crossbow, slingshot, whatever. Get it and start practicing with it. And I'm kind of preaching to myself with that as well. Which brings us to the fourth B. We had Bible, we had beans, bullets. The next B is bandages. Okay, bandages. That's your supplies, your first aid kits, your medicine, your bug out bag, camping gear, etc. Now, with those 4 Bs, how do you do it, especially on a budget, and more so is with a budget because people, people who have money, like, oh, I can buy all this stuff, but again, whether they're going to do that or not, probably not because they think nothing's going to happen because I have money. So King Ben earlier talked about struggling ranchers in today's newscast. So right now, start Googling local farmers, ranchers, and gardeners. Start Googling that and try to find, get their contact information. Most of them got Instagram pages. Go to the farmers market, get their contact information, see where they are, see what else they have that they didn't bring with them to the farmers market. The ranchers, some of them, they have a butchery, locally where they use. They don't go to the big plants. So contact them and start buying from them directly. You kind of get a cleaner source of where the meat's coming from or where the food is coming from. And when times are really bad, you establish that relationship with those farmers, ranchers, gardeners, etc. Okay. The next thing you want to do if you're looking for supplies, Craigslist, go to the free stuff section. Some people will just give stuff away because they'll give it away for free. The only thing is you have to go pick it up. I was one of those people. Some things I just gave away. Just contacted people. I was trying to sell stuff. I was selling like I was fleeing because I was. Not in fear, of course, but just getting out of Babylon. But with that, so I was listed my couches. I mean, I paid listed them at 80% of the value. Then it went to 50%. Then it went to 20%, and then it went to like 10%. And then some guy bought them for extremely cheap, and I hope he's enjoying them. But some stuff I just gave away. Like I was like, here, just take this. I don't, some I just gave. There's a lot of stuff I just gave away. Craigslist has that section, or free stuff. Look for that in your area or neighboring cities. If you can get some good stuff, it's free. Don't be ashamed to utilize thrift stores. They got some good stuff. Clothes that you could use for backup or whatever. You'd be surprised with some thrift stores. Some thrift stores have some really good stuff. Um, you know, Other ways to get prepared. So this is not just like buying stuff, and that's kind of the trap that people get into, or most people that get into with prepping is they think it's all about money. And I did too. I mean, when I first started, I thought it was all about money. Like I saw, this guy had a really nice generator, and I can't afford that, or he has, some doing a product review of this really expensive whatever, and I can't afford that. Like, and eventually, once you start, and this is part of the faith, like you start putting those small steps up to accumulating stuff for the purpose of making it to the next day. That's all this is. It's not to shield you from anything, because the Most High, His word is pretty clear on those who sin against Him, the Gentile nations who have trodden us down, and the fate of those who put their trust in Him and keep His law, statutes, and commandments. Everyone's fate is for those three categories are clear. So that's not what this is about. It's just to get you to the next day by being like the ant, storing for winter, because everyone keeps talking about dark winter. Okay, yeah, with rolling blackouts in the winter in the U.S., it's going to be a very bad time. Rolling blackouts in the summer, yeah, it's bad too. You got heat exhaustion. People are just hot, and they're not. They get irritable. But in the winter, especially if you're in a place that has really harsh winters, it's going to be really bad. So be like the ant. That's all this is about, to get you to the next day. With that being said, some of the free things you can do, I just mentioned, it's free to contact the ranchers and farmers and gardeners. It's free to show up to the farmers markets, thrift stores. Those are extremely cheap. Working out, that's free. That is free preparation. That will play a part in the four B's. Um, you know, um, Getting in shape. I started taking my workout routine more seriously and more consistent. It's to the point now where if I don't work out, I kind of get like, not anxious, but like, like thinking about it. So, work out, just be consistent, do something small, just do it every day, and then add to your routine. If you've been walking, start jogging. If you want to get into lifting weights or calisthenics or whatever, just start small. Start with something and then kind of add on to it. But it's free. You don't need money. You don't need a budget, and you're exercising faith because you're working out with a purpose. Like, I need to make sure my body is in the best possible shape to endure the physical strength or the physical stress that will come. Of course, I'm putting my faith in the Most High. My peace is in Him. Psalms 91 all day, Psalms 37 all day, Psalms 18 all day. But with that being said, I'm doing my part. Lastly, start a garden. Like I said, sweet potatoes are the best thing to grow. I can't emphasize it enough. They're easy, and you get a pretty good yield if you just water them. They love the heat. So now that it's kind of cooling off, it may not be the best time. You can still try. I would. You can't hurt anything, but they will go dormant in the wintertime. Um, with that being said, in the winter, start looking for winter crops to grow. Spinach, lettuce, and greens go really well in the winter. They love the cool and the cold, especially greens. They love the cold. The more, the better. So start a garden again. That kind of takes, if you haven't started yet, you might think it takes money. That's where the Craigslist free stuff comes in. That's where the thrift stores come in. Don't have shame to ask around. Like, hey, does anyone have any gardening stuff you want to get rid of? Like, your friends or family, like people who live but close by. You'd be surprised what having a garage and not thinking about. And then when you start using it, then they start thinking about it. But anyway, don't be ashamed to ask. So all of this is in preparation of the upcoming financial collapse. Now, the way it may take form, is it a hack? Is it the Federal Reserve ran out of ink? Is it is it EMP? Is it a cyber attack on the electrical grid? So therefore, it doesn't matter. It's good to discuss it. I mean, it's good to so we can kind of see where what it's good to discuss. I'll just say that, but to think about it and dwell on it, it won't matter because when it happens, no one's going to care. I mean, people talk about, well, is it going to? The reason they will care is to think that there is hope that it will come back on. That's the only reason. I mean, because once it goes down, it's down. Once the banks start capital controls and start bank holidays, there's no going back, especially with the U.S. dollar in its terminal decline. It has one foot in the coffin and the other foot on a banana peel. So it's literally the grace of the Most High that we still are operating like this. I know some of us are let's do it right now, like bring the hammer down now. But yesterday, that little exercise of the internet messing up, and I text my friends in the group saying, "Hey, I'm not trying to cause a panic, but I think y'all might want to make a stop at the ATM." And because you never know. I mean, that could have been it, and the ATMs are locked up, and what you got in your hand is what you have, unless your bank tells you you can use your money, and they're going to have restrictions, which just going to create chaos or problems, I should say. So with that, that covers tonight's episode. I'll yield to the brothers, and if anyone has any questions or comments on this topic, feel free to raise your hand. If you're shy, you don't want to come up, you're married, you don't have permission, or anything like that, they give you permission to send a message in the DM. I'll read it. I'll read your question. I won't reveal your name, anything like that. It's all good. So with that, I yield.
I see a hand got raised. I think she wants to ask a question.
Yes, shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
I just came in the room and I heard the end of what Leonardo was saying. Is there any recommendation on a YouTube channel where somebody teaches how to start a garden from scratch? Because I just moved back in with my brother and he has a large backyard and I just don't know where to start. I get so overwhelmed.
Okay, no, that's good. That's a good question. First you have to start. Where is this this house? Like, what state is it in?
It's Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay, Alabama. Okay, great. Well, the first thing you need want to do is look up what grows well in Alabama. Okay. I was from like the grow zone. So just look up grow zone in Alabama and just Google what grows well in Alabama, and they'll give you a list of stuff depending on the season. So that'd be a good place to start. Um, you know, uh, Alabama is is approaching the fall, so winter. You got winter coming up. So I would start with fall and winter crops. Trying to grow a watermelon now is not going to do anything. It's going to die. Those are summer crops, stuff like that. So start by that. And two channels I recommend on whatever crop it is. There's two channels I recommend. Self Sufficient Me. He's an Australian, and another guy is M.I. Gardner. M as in Mary, I as in Igloo, Gardner. You can look at their channels and their little search thing on YouTube. Type in whichever crop you're trying to grow for that particular season, and they got a video. I can assure you they have a video, and that's where I got 95% of my gardening knowledge from was those two channels. They're really good, highly informative, detailed. Give lots of explanations on how to maintain a garden with specific crops. So that's why I said type in whatever you're growing in their search bars and it'll come up. So Self-Sufficient Me, that's one channel, and the other one is M.I. Gardner. Those are both Edomites, but they're very knowledgeable in what they do, and they got some really nice gardens. So does that answer your question?
Cons, a lot of comments.
Con. I have a question. Okay, never mind. That wasn't a question. It was more of a comment. Thank you for that kind words. But is there anything else, sister? Or was that it?
And about the money situation, so should we be taking out cash?
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
I didn't really understand what you were saying about that.
Right. Okay. That's a good question. Very fundamental question. So, in past lessons or past episodes, I have, and I do recommend to keep some cash on hand. The banking, all that bank is a way for you to transact, to pay your bills, to keep, you don't have to have a bunch of cash at the grocery store. So, think of it as a flush account. So, if your budget is, $1,000 a month, that's your, I'm just using it because it's a nice round number. So rent, utilities, bills, everything is $1,000 a month. Anything over $1,000 a month, if you want to put it towards supplies, that would be wise. But if you're looking at to hold cash, I would take that cash out. So you know, I do recommend holding some cash on hand. That'll be part of your supply stash is cash. You don't want to have too much cash because you got walking around with thousands of dollars. That could be a liability, but enough to say, okay, I have my food storage to last me X amount of days and months or whatever. I have my water storage. This cash I have on hand is just to, I don't know, if someone who still believes the system is going to come back up is willing to accept this cash, then I will. Or if the banks start doing capital controls and bank holidays, capital controls just means they limit the amount that you can use and take out. I have that cash on hand to get around that. So yes, I do recommend having some cash on hand. But one thing I am not saying is to completely empty your accounts and put your money under the mattress. I am not saying that. If you want to do that, that's definitely not a bad idea. But I'm not recommending that because some people take that the wrong way, and Leah's trying to cause a panic and all that. But if that's what you want to do, and you want to utilize debit cards and just add the cash on, it's burdensome, but it will pay off because you have a majority of your you have more control. You know what I'm saying? So I just think of the banks as a way to transact, but keeping cash on hand is it's not a bad idea. Does that answer your question?
Con, and I have one more.
Sure.
So as a woman, do you recommend any life skills, survival skills that I should be learning, like maybe how to clean and gut a fish, or how to sew things by hand? Like, what do you recommend? Sorry, for women to be learning right now, just in case everything goes, to crap.
Con. Well, there's no just in case. It's just a matter of time. So we've there's plenty of YouTube videos on different types of things to learn. So I guess one of the things is what resonates with you. I something I do recommend doing. Working out, having some form of personal protection and knowing how to use it. If you don't like guns, think of getting a bow and arrow or a staff, something, a knife, something, mace, whatever, something. Okay. I know some people, okay, so something, okay. Now, we talk about skills. There's some basic skills that, you can't hurt to learn. How to start a fire, okay? A million of YouTube channels on that. Just type in how to start a fire or how to start a campfire. Now, some people have the more motherling, I guess nurturing instinct, especially with some of our sisters. So learning, I recommend everyone learning CPR, first aid, things like that. But yes, sewing skills is a big big thing in our community because we have a lot of ladies sewing fringes and things like that, sewing garments. So knowing how to sew is it's a great skill. because within that you can also learn how to sew wounds, how to stitch wounds. So there's a lot of things to learn. Not to say lot as an overwhelming. Please don't get overwhelmed. I mean, the Most High, He knew you would come into this room. He knew He woke you up when He woke you up. So it's not to cause a pain like, oh my God, oh my God. No, no, just relax. But just pick one thing, start learning it. That's it. And then after you get comfortable with that, or okay, yeah, I want to learn something else. Okay, then like you said, gardening. We need gardeners. How to gut a fish, that is important. YouTube has tons of videos on how to debone a fish without pinning, without taking out the pins or whatever. So there's a lot of methods and techniques out there that you could learn that will prove useful. And the good thing with skills and knowledge is that it's in your head. You don't have to store it in a backpack. It's not in a bank. It's not, in a crypto wallet or anything like that. It's in your head. And when the time comes, you could take it out your head and start using it. So, does that make sense?
Yes, Khan. Okay, that was all. Thank you so much. You can
Thank
move
you.
me back down. Isha.
Con. And for those who are in the room, who are new, we have these rooms. Jacob's Trouble classes are normally Tuesday nights. So we've been doing this for a while, but again, there's tons of YouTube channels where I've gained my knowledge from. It's not like Leo was born with this or Leo learned. No, I did some research. I did quite a bit of research on different skills and techniques and things that that will prove useful. For the coming days ahead. So with that, I yield.
I think it was a very good lesson. I think it was very needed. I'll say that I myself have not gotten on the crypto train as per se, but I do not discourage our brothers and sisters from doing so. And I'm not sure, brother Leo, did you bring out Ecclesiastes? What was it? Money's a defense.
I did not. If you have that,
Con. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and 12, and it reads, "For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it." Right. So knowing of these different ways to be able to survive while we are in captivity, it is a defense, right? But it is put in a hierarchy on what is over the other there, which is wisdom, right? You want to be wise in how you are, obtaining these things and how you are utilizing these things, right? The Bible is a clear tool on it. Shows you that it always put wisdom above obtaining material items and minuscule things, wisdom being a principal thing, right? To gain understanding. But it does always allow for a balance that men are to be able to survive, or for different things, different goods, right? Currencies as such, right? It speaks about also another precept, just in reference to the Bible speaking regarding being able to maintain these things, because I'm not a person that I see a lot of my brothers in this understanding. We have brothers that are not very knowledgeable in cryptocurrency and other type of currencies. Leo's very knowledgeable in these things, and where some may be very cautious in it, others may be like, well, you should go into this. This is the way that you need to go. This is the fastest way to gain money right now. And they kind of put everything behind it, but it should always be a balance maintained in doing this. So we see our brothers be very I see our brothers be very successful with dealing with these type of currencies, but it's always wisdom that is paramount over using these. Another precept where I believe Yahushua was actually speaking, um, and he was using a parable. This is Luke 16:9. It says, and I say unto you, make yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. And if you look up the word mammon, right? Mammon means treasure, right? And he was using that as a parable, but and in relation to the times that we're in now, mammon would be the things that, money and these type of things. We would want to be circumspect in how we make ourselves friends of these things, right? And not chasing after these things. So that's basically what the brother Leo was, bringing out throughout this, this lesson, as what he just told the sister. You know, we utilize a lot of these mechanisms, these cards, these we have cash apps, we have crypto, we have all these different mediums of how we are to, use to buy things, buy goods, buy food, keep our homes, drive our vehicles, right? So we make ourselves friends of the mammon to survive, but we also got to be circumspect in how we go about, Salakia for the background, how we go about doing so, right? I want to let me go to real quick, Sirach real quick. It says, this is a Sirach 31:1. It says, watching for riches consumeth the flesh, and the care thereof driveth away sleep. And we can be like this. We can constantly be up and constantly worrying about money, constantly watching the markets, constantly, out to get the bag. And it's draining. You know what I'm saying? People are, you see them with bags under their eyes, and you know, it's a never ending mission, especially in this place. The more money you make, the more money you will have to pay out. Right? We know that this is not our rest. Right? It says, dropping down, this still 31:8. It says, blessed is the rich that is found without blemish and hath not gone after gold. Right? So it's given that balance of circumspect, and being that you are rich, right, with these law, statutes, and commandments, right, but you're not chasing after the dollar. You're not obsessed with it, right? You're friends of the mammon, like how to be able to make money, but you're not relying on it where you can't, so you can't sleep at night. One more precept before we wrap up, Salakia. This is the book of Sirach, and we'll go to 29, and it should bring it home. It's 29:11. It says, lay up thy treasures according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold. So, us being who we are and being circumspect in the understanding that we have, that we know that the law, statutes, and commandments, these are the things that will carry us over in the times when all of these things collapse. That's what I think the brother Leo tries to bring home in all of these Jacob's Trouble rooms, is that these are the most things that these are the most reliable things that we would be able to depend on. The sister came up and talked about, starting our first garden, because we're not going to have this currency where we can just go to the stores. If they are continually to plan this famine, these stores are not going to be available for us. These these markets where we can go and pick up fruit and vegetables and things like that, they're already starting to disappear. So we have to start preparing in the time that we're in right now for those days that are very close. They're not even far off anymore. We're seeing it every single day. So these riches, these currency, those is going to be the things of that time. We're not going to be able to trade our dollars and go and hand someone a card and they give us a bag of groceries. We're going to literally, that stuff is going to be it's going to be of no use at that time. So, I just wanted to bring that out before we wrap up. Excellent, nice little short one, but definitely a constant reminder from the brother Leo that, of what we need to know. And I yield.
Con, real quick, before I pass it to Brother Mike, some things you said. Well, one thing to know is not so much, oh, the banks will fail, we can't use our money. In the event that Famine's cousin creeps up before, Famine's cousin hyperinflation kicks in, it won't matter that you have the money. It won't matter that you have the crypto because, it just won't matter. For one, if hyperinflation kicks in, it's like, okay, well, bag of rice is $50, and you go and only limit one per customer. Um, in the event of a famine, it's like, well, I don't care how much crypto you have, we don't have the rice, and the truck was supposed to get here yesterday, or the truck was supposed to get here 6 weeks ago. Get in line. Like, your money does not mean anything because we don't have it. So that's kind of the tandem between hyperinflation, the dollar collapse, because that's typically what happens in hyperinflation is the dollar is so worthless that prices have to reflect that. Um, we've seen that in Venezuela. So even if the prices don't collapse like that, the fact that we don't have it on the shelves, like, yeah, we ordered it 6 months ago, still hasn't got here, you know, get in line like everybody else. Your money is no good here because we don't have the supply. So in both events, this is why you kind of want to get ahead of that, to have some cash on hand and, start, getting the 4 Bs in order. More importantly, like Brother Ben said, the Most High, wisdom is above money in terms of a defense. So, and I've been in some situations, where you've got the money in the bank, but you cannot use it. It's been some situation like where the bank has, locked out my funds. I had to call them. No one could help me. And, I had to call somebody to lend me some money. It's just stuff like that. Like the money's there, but you don't have access to it. Um, and, sometimes you do everything, you think you did everything right. And, still you don't have access to your funds. So, um, that's why you kind of want to take these just moving wisdom with what was covered here tonight. And with that, I yield. Mike, is there anything you want to bring up?
I just wanted to say, really good lesson. You touched on a lot of points. Just want to confirm this because I missed just a little bit of it. When you listed the 4 Bs, it was Bible, beams, body, and bullets, correct?
No. Well, I could throw body in there, and that'd be the 5th B. So Bible, beans, bullets, bandages. That's your supplies, your medicine, your bug out bags, camping gear. And we can go ahead and add the 5th B, body. Work out, eat healthy, take care of yourself. Um, you know, that's gonna be just as important, because you can have all the gear, but if you're not in shape, as I discussed in the last lesson, how grossly I underestimated carrying that, running with that weight of my backpack. That could be a problem. So, yeah, the 5th B, you can write that down, body. Start taking care of your body. And with that, I yield.
Con. So, you know, you've expounded on, Bible. We get those lessons daily, here on Clubhouse. The beans you've covered, food storage. So, those things have been covered. Um, so the one I wanted to touch on is body, just real briefly. As a man, if you can only do, I don't know how many push-ups you can do, or how much you can run, but let's say you can only do 50 push-ups straight. Start making it your goal to do that every day until you can get up to 60. By the next week, try to get up to 70. Just incrementally increase your workout, just to keep your body in shape. Definitely watch your food intake, what things that you're putting into your body, because that will be a vital aspect as well in these last days. To it'll be very important how the shape that you keep your body in. So just wanted to add that, but I feel like that was a really good lesson, and you touched on all points, so I yield.
Yeah, also with that body, just like, and it encompasses so much. That body also incorporates training as well in that body. So, with the training, with the let's bring Brother Jacob. Yeah, with the training, the working out and all those things, that body is definitely important in them bees, the five B's, definitely. Because if you don't train, all of the supplies that you have is useless, right? All of them weapons that you have obtained, all of those those backpacks, all of those things, you are the main person that controls those things. So if you haven't trained or prepared your body to be able to operate those things, get those things down to muscle memory where you know how to do it with your eyes closed or not even thinking about it, it's really useless. So body is definitely important, and training falls under that. Brother Jake, I'm sure you can add to that. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I just wanted to say shalom to the brother Jake. I didn't get to say this earlier, but now he's in the room. Congrats on the new baby girl. I just wanted to say that briefly.
Khan.
Water. Thank you. Thank you. Can I be heard?
Khan.
Good.
Yes,
Um,
yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, brothers. And thank you for everyone giving me well wishes all for the last 2 days. It's been overwhelming. Um, I know y'all. That's awesome. So hey, when y'all start talking about not necessarily fitness, but fitness preparedness, I don't want to change the subject with some of these rooms. I love listening, but that is always going to be the foundation, right? Of everything, Brother Leonardo and Mike and King Ben, when they make these wonderful rooms, and they tell you about all the different aspects on how you're going to prepare and what you need, blah blah blah, this and that. But mental and physical preparedness are the foundation of a lot of those things, including the Word of God. That's going to be that's your spiritual foundation. That's going to increase your wisdom. So with all the information they're giving you, you know what's going to be right for you and what steps you properly need to take in order to make sure that you're on the right path. That you're taking care of yourself and your family in the means and in the way the Most High wants you to. However, the more we get closer and the more things start happening in the world, the more I start seeing China sending fighter jets to Taiwan. Like the more I see stuff like that, um the more mean I'm gonna get to my people. Um, you know, and I'm gonna say it like this: the people who are going to die first when the grid goes down and scarcity starts to become extreme are the people who are overweight and the people who are physically handicapped. You do not want to live in a society where scarcity exists and people become less patient with you and less respectable. You don't know what a society like that looks like. Y'all haven't really lived that. Our generation has not. So with that, not only do you need I'm not in, it's the most important thing, your spiritual foundation, your spiritual protection, making sure that you're in righteous covenant with the Most High God. So he sends his angels to be in a 25, meter, radius around you as you walk through, Jacob's trouble. But if you're a fat motherfucker, you're not going to make it. I'm just going to be blunt with you. If it makes you hard, if it's hard for you to breathe, running down the block at a steady pace, breathing in and out, and you start having you at the end of the block, you if that is happening to you, you're not going to make it. You will not have time to gather your cardiovascular system to get it fine tuned for you to be able to, if I need to go with a backpack and my baby and my wife, so we can run 3 miles into the woods, into the tree line, away from the road, because there are dangerous Edomites coming down because scarcity exists. They might want to take my backpack and my gun and my bullets and my medication and the silver that I have in the backpack for trading and and my baby and my wife and kill me. Like if you fat, you're gonna be easily taken. Um, so if you overweight, if you out of shape in any way, even if you're thin, but you just don't run, you don't do nothing, right? Um, take taming your flesh, training your body is so important. So I want y'all to understand that. I'm being direct with you. Eventually, I'm going to start being mean and saying some of y'all are just going to have to die because you did not prepare when you had the spring and the summertime. Now winter is coming, and you're going to be the person that's going to be looking for Israelites to help you survive. Please help me. Your lamp wasn't lit, and you're going to depend on another person's lamp, another Israelite who has his family. I remember Leonardo's one of his first Jacob's Trouble classes where we watched the what's that show? The black and white show?
Twilight Zone,
The
The Shelter.
Twilight Zone, where the man had his shelter and he had his family and just enough for them to be able to survive nuclear winter. And everybody tried to bang his door down, and they did. And it was just a test. And, when society breaks down, people show you who they really are. Respectability goes out the window when scarcity exists. People start going to be emotionally manipulative to you. I got babies too. Can you help us? Can you take us with you? Can you share some of the food in your backpack? My baby is starving. Like, you're going to be a burden. Don't be a burden because you didn't do the time when you had life being easy and everything was being handed to you. And, you know, Esau wasn't saying, take the vaccine or die. Now you have time to train your body. Now you have time to train your spirit. Now you have time to prepare for, not just in your household, but when you got to pack your bag and go, you got to prepare that too. Prepare learning how to use a walkie-talkie and then learning how to read a map, learning how to read at an elevation, learning how to go in the wilderness when you have time on a Sunday to go start a fire if it's safe. Make sure you do it in a safe environment. Finding the materials in the wilderness. You don't have matches. You lost your pack. Now you need to start a fire so you and your baby don't freeze to death. Well, where do you find materials to start a fire? How did your ancestors do it? And so once it becomes muscle memory to you, when that time comes, you have built up the strength and the cardiovascular system and the muscle memory and the spiritual protection in order for you to endure to the end. And I yield on that.
Man, excellent points, King.
Yeah, man, the water. Definitely needed that. And Jake is telling us this because he loves us. He's not telling us everything's going to be all right. Don't listen to these guys. They're fear mongering. He's giving us a reality because the Bible does say prepare for battle. So the Lord knows, your physical limitations. He made you, and with you doing the best with what you can. So if you are, I mean, and it's the thing. Like when we work out, we know when we put in 100% effort. Like, okay, that was a good workout. Okay, and when you kind of slacked off, but if you're the one who put in legitimate days of working out specifically, is what we're talking about. The Most High is going to add to that. Um, you know, Jake is. I mean, we're not going to reiterate what Jake said, but we know who Jake is referring to, and so take what he said as he's saying it because he loves you. He wants you to do well in this time. I want everyone to do well in this time. Everyone who is of Israel. So yeah, bring it on, Jake. The water for that. I don't have anything else. Jake, I think Jake yielded. Mike, Azrael. If no one has anything else, that's it. We can yield.
Khan, I think it was a very good lesson and very lot of um, needed points was made. These are very important, and the thing about it is that what just like what the brother Jake mentioned, is that you can see every day from the news, whether you know hear from us in the morning or you just see it on your own, or if the brothers are in the other teaching rooms are bringing it out. We are in clear times right now where these these lessons hit a lot harder, and soon they're not going to be there. You know, they're these are not going to be always around to catch. So you better get them while you can, while you still have the time. You know, and soak it up. You know, so we appreciate the brother Leo for taking his time out to you know, put together these lessons, as well as the other brothers that are, you know, sharing in the points. And you know, as always, we want to give all honor and glory. You had something, Mike, before we close out, real quick? Go
Yeah, I
ahead,
just
Ken.
had a
Go ahead,
precept,
Ken.
just real quick, just to land back on Con. Just because of the fact that they brought out the precept about, you know, in Esdras to prepare for the battle. I wanted to bring out Ecclesiastes 3:8, just because a lot of times we cover on the news a lot of the things that are going on in the world. So it's a clear sign what time, you know, between these two times, which one we're in. So it reads Ecclesiastes 3:8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. So clearly, you know, if a lot of these things that are going on in the world, it's a time of war. So, you know, we have to prepare for the battle in all ways, you know, in the spiritual and in the physical. And, you know, as Jake brought out as well, you know, in the mental. So I yield. I just wanted to bring that out real quick. KB, that was all I
It
had.
definitely one that comes to mind is that second Edwards 9:1, where where it says he answered me and said, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before. So he's telling us literally to measure the times diligently, right? So yeah, definitely important, the time that we in. I see we have one question before we I see a brother with his hand raised before we close out. Maybe you got a question about something. Do y'all see that?
Con.
Okay.
I see it. Remind him up.
All right.
Yeah, shalom to the room. I just want to be real quick and touch on something that Jake had mentioned briefly earlier about preparedness. Everyone just want to make sure that we get a hold of the medications that we're taking, because a lot of us, due to our health issues, are on blood pressure medicines and so forth and so on, to a greater extent or lesser extent. We want to make sure that we find alternative ways to take care of ourselves while we're out there in the wilderness, so we don't have to depend on the actual drugs that we're getting from these particular nations. And I yield with that.
Con. That
Con,
was
the
really
water.
good. Definitely important, King. The water for that. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Mike, we can't hear you.
My bad. I've had my
Con.
Bluetooth on. You can hear me now? Con. So, you know, dealing with that with blood pressure, one thing, you know, dealing with herbs, I had found out that burdock root is very good for, you know, cleaning your blood. So that might, you know, be a natural thing that you could look out, you know, look to find in stores now and stock up on. Just to add on the point that you had just made. But that's all I had on that.
Con. Good
Con,
point.
con.
Good point. So of course, you know, points always being brought out, man, even as we close out, and definitely the water for that. You know, these are very important, and you know, this is gonna be posted on the YouTube for anybody that wanna go back and check it out. You know, don't forget those the what was it, the 5 B's, right? So of course we want to give all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. We pray that y'all have a beautiful rest of your night. And with that being said, we'll say shalom.
Yeah. In time of trouble, what you gonna do? Yeah. What now? What you gonna do? In time of trouble.